Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. All day today, the focus of attention has been on Prime Minister Modi's meeting with his Pakistani counterpart Nawaz Sharif. But the key question is, was it a mere courtesy call or the start of a new relationship between the two neighbours? Clearly, both Prime Ministers want to move forward, but can they overcome the many obstacles that lie in their way? Will the challenge prove more daunting than the desire for change? That's the single subject over the next 1 hour, with special guests joining us from Islamabad in Pakistan, as well as here in New Delhi. And joining me now to discuss Narendra Modi and Nawaz Sharif's meeting earlier today and the wider issue of Indo-Pak relations is former High Commissioner to Pakistan G. Parthasarathy, the well-known foreign affairs analyst C. Raja Mohan, the former editor of The Hindu Siddharth Varadarajan, and a research fellow from King's College London, Zorawar Daulat Singh. Also joining me from Islamabad, the former High Commissioner to India, Aziz Ahmed Khan, and Pakistan's former ambassador to the United States, as well as High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Maliha Lodhi. Let's start first with the nature of the rapport and the manner in which the two Prime Ministers related to each other before we come to the actual substance of their meetings. One of the things I noticed today, Professor Raja Mohan, is the language Mr. Nawaz Sharif used. He said the meeting was warm and cordial. He actually called it a historic opportunity. Earlier, speaking to another Indian channel, he said it was an excellent meeting. Do you get the feeling that the two Prime Ministers have established some sort of rapport with each other?
I think so. I think even before they met today, I think they were there together last night on the dinner table. And before that, when Mr. Nawaz Sharif congratulated Modi and invited him to Pakistan, and then obviously Mr. Modi called him back and invited him to come to this function. So I think already, quite a number of conversations have taken place. So I think a stage has been set for engaging more seriously when they met today.
Maliha Lodhi, one of the things that was pretty obvious on television was in fact the body language between the two Prime Ministers. There were two very long, warm, even effusive handshakes, one last night at the swearing in, another one today when they met for their meeting. And then there was that tweet from Mr. Modi about how Nawaz Sharif had told him about his mother and how his mother had been deeply moved seeing Mr. Modi with his mother. And I got the feeling that there was a sort of bond that was almost established. Or am I getting carried away with just the body language? What's your feeling in Pakistan?
Well, I think we have to judge this once the party is over. And I think the party is over in the sense that the euphoria and the atmospherics, which were all positive, and I think they're welcomed in Pakistan. But the acid test of whether the relationship will improve will obviously depend on substance. And I think what we've seen so far is that this has been a visit that's been high on symbolism, but very low on outcome.
Okay,
because if the only outcome we have is such a modest one, which is the two Prime Ministers, the principals, meeting at summit level. This is a kind of a summit meeting. If all they could produce, while declaring that this is a new beginning, which looks so suspiciously like an old one, is for the two foreign secretaries to meet, I think it's a bit of a lost opportunity.
I'll come to the substance in a moment's time, but first, Aziz Ahmed Khan, I want to reveal something that Mr. Nawaz Sharif told me yesterday. I wasn't permitted to reveal it earlier while he was in the country, but now that he's left, I can say so. Mr. Nawaz Sharif said that in fact he had been personally rung up by Mr. Modi and invited to the swearing in, that the phone call had come a good 3 days before the foreign secretaries had got in touch with each other. And secondly, he said that at that time when he was rung up, he immediately accepted, although he said to Mr. Modi, I will take my time to officially confirm, but I'm telling you that I am coming. And the point Mr. Nawaz Sharif added was that the furious press speculation in India, whether he was coming or not, was based upon people not knowing that the two Prime Ministers had already spoken to each other personally, and Mr. Sharif had assured Mr. Modi he was coming. Now, does that suggest that Mr. Modi went out of his way to invite Mr. Sharif, and that he was particularly keen to have Mr. Sharif in Delhi?
Well, his calling him was a good signal, as a good gesture on Mr. Modi's part. And I think Mr. Nawaz Sharif not revealing anything probably wanted you channels to have all the TV channels in India to have an opportunity to go in a tizzy and go on speculating. I recall that there were all kinds of speculations going on earlier when I appeared in the program, whether he was coming or not and why he was taking that long a time, which now in retrospect I find quite amusing. But nonetheless, I am glad that this visit took place and a beginning has taken place to begin the process that already has been going on. Hopefully when the two foreign secretaries meet, they would look at what has been achieved so far and how to take what used to be called the composite dialogue, whatever name they give to it, that entire process with the entire gamut of different subjects is taken forward.
Let's then come, Siddharth Varadarajan, to the substance of the talks. Now, there's something else I can reveal. When I met Mr. Nawaz Sharif, he said that he was going to propose to Mr. Modi that the dialogue between the two countries must resume, but Pakistan was not hung on it being in the shape and form of the old composite structure. He said he was very happy for a new architecture. And I noticed today the language used by our foreign secretary. She said the Prime Minister's agreed foreign secretaries will remain in touch and explore how to move forward. Does that suggest that when they first meet to explore, it will be to decide on a new architecture, and when the new architecture is agreed, then they will have the talks that Mr. Sharif is so keen on? So do you get the feeling that he may well have made that proposal, and that is the reason behind this cryptic language from Sujata Singh?
It does seem so, although my sense is that the slight difference in nuance between what she said and what Mr. Nawaz Sharif said also has to do with the fact that Nawaz Sharif speaks with the confidence of a Prime Minister who represented himself, and Sujata Singh is speaking on behalf of her principal, a principal or a government that she barely knows right now. It's just been one day old. But I think that it's clear that at least Nawaz Sharif and also the Indian side are looking for ways to resume dialogue by whatever name. In the past, the name composite dialogue, I think, was a bit of a red rag for the Indians, and for that reason the Pakistanis also clung to that name. As long as the outstanding issues are discussed in some framework or the other, I don't think that should make too much of a difference.
So this indication from Mr. Nawaz Sharif that he's happy for a new architecture and he's not hung on the composite structure is actually then an attempt to appease the Indian concern that the composite structure has outlived its utility.
It provides an opening, it provides flexibility for both sides to move forward.
If I recall correctly, Mr. Parthasarathi, last Thursday when you were here, you said you were in favor of the dialogue resuming, but the composite structure had outlived its utility. Now here's Mr. Nawaz Sharif saying to me yesterday, and I presume saying it to Mr. Modi today, that he's happy for a new architecture. Do you get the feeling that that is in fact, if not a concession, at least a recognition that if there is going to be a dialogue, it needs to happen in a different way?
Now, I notice also Mr. Nawaz Sharif wants to go back to 1999 in something else that he said. Now, the basic fact is that there were two aspects to the entire resumption of the dialogue. One was a categorical assurance by President Musharraf that territory under Pakistan's control would not be used for terrorism. So it was not just the resumption of the dialogue. There were two aspects of what was agreed to in January 2004. And I welcomed that because, in fairness to General Musharraf, in 2000 and within 2 months, General Javed Ashraf Qazi admitted that the Lashkar-e-Taiba carried out the attack on our parliament. And I must say, in fairness to President Musharraf, thereafter, in his period, there were no attacks of terrorism. He stuck to his assurance. The second point is that we made distinct progress on Kashmir. I would hope our present government sticks to what we had agreed to earlier.
But can I pause you a moment? You're going back into history now, right?
No.
I want to pick up on the point you made last Thursday and in a sense applaud you. Last Thursday you said that you were happy for dialogue, but you wanted a new structure. How do you respond to Mr. Sharif saying he's keen for a new architecture?
Yeah, the new architecture should, in my view, contain a reiteration of President Musharraf's assurance.
All right, that undoubtedly. But are you happy that he's not
with a new architecture? I would love their generals to meet our generals and learn how to respect democracy.
But are you happy that he is not hung on the old composite structure? That was the point you were making last Thursday.
Yes, but the composite structure was linked to this.
As someone who's an independent analyst, and given the fact, as Siddharth Varadarajan pointed out, that just because India didn't like the composite structure, Pakistan was determined to stand on it. Now this indication from Mr. Nawaz Sharif, the dialogue is important, the architecture can be redesigned, we can move away from the composite structure. Do you see that as a significant move by the Pakistanis? I won't use the word concession, but a significant move by the Pakistanis?
If, as you say, is what is the impression of the Pakistani, that certainly suggests a recognition from their side that that red line of terrorism is not going to be diminished by the Modi regime. And if that is so, then why not create a flexible architecture that allows you to pick some of the low-hanging fruits, which is basically economic interdependence, trade, control people-to-people contact, culture. So all the stuff that was being bypassed in the search of a grand, ambitious agenda to solve territorial questions, let's stick with and start proceeding from the bottom up.
Before I go back to the guests in Islamabad, do you stand by your initial interpretation that this is a small but significant step forward?
Absolutely. I think it's a giant leap for the two principles, for Nawaz Sharif and Modi, overcoming domestic limitations. For the two countries, it's a small, modest step forward that I think allows us to build on it.
Now, something else, Aziz Ahmed Khan, that Mr. Sharif revealed to me yesterday, and that I wasn't able to make public, is that he was also going to suggest that apart from the composite structure not being something Pakistan's hung on, and he's happy to consider a new architecture for the talks, beyond that, he also was going to suggest that, in fact, the two critical issues that matter to the countries most of all, Kashmir to India, terror to India and Kashmir to Pakistan, these should be elevated above the foreign secretary level and maybe handled like India handles its talks with China at the level of some sort of special representative. If that were to be agreed, and we have no idea that it's going to be agreed, but how would that suggestion go down in Pakistan? Would it face opposition from Mr. Sharif's critics, or would it be welcomed in Pakistan?
First of all, about the architecture of the dialogue process, I would like you to go back in time a little bit. The composite dialogue was started at India's insistence. It was India which wanted the composite structure. It was India which proposed that structure in Colombo in '97, and we agreed to that. And that is because otherwise they used to say that Pakistan is very Kashmir centric and doesn't want to discuss other issues. So we got this composite nature of the dialogue. I find it very ironic that now India thinks, and the other day Mr. Parthasarathy also used the word that the composite dialogue is all fluff. But anyway, Pakistan will be quite happy to change the, I'm sure, to change the structure of the dialogue. We would carry on that process so long as all the subjects are studied. We know what are the concerns of each other. Terrorism for you, Kashmir for us. There is trade, there is Siachen, there is Sir Creek, there's water issues, there are several, people-to-people contact, and all these issues are important and need to be discussed. There should not be any cherry picking.
Maria Lodhi, a moment earlier when I asked you how you responded to the body language between the two prime ministers, and you said that the body language may be good, but there was absolutely no substance whatsoever. Now, it's emerging that in fact your prime minister may have suggested that he's happy to move away from the old composite dialogue structure and to look for a new architecture. Secondly, he probably has suggested the possibility of raising the Kashmir and the terror level talks to a higher level than the foreign secretaries. Assuming all of that happens and that provides a new opening for the talks to happen in a new architecture, would you not say that that is a small but significant step forward, or do you still insist it's all symbolism and nothing more?
No, my point is that here are two prime ministers who have decisive mandates, who both sought to depict this meeting, not the swearing in, because that was totally ceremonial, but at least the bilateral meeting as something which was something of a historic opportunity. At least my prime minister said that. Well, it turned out that there was nothing very historic about this opportunity if you look at the outcome. If the outcome is simply one of process, and I think, Karan, your discussion even earlier is all focused on process. The question is not whether you have a new or old architecture. India and Pakistan have very well-known issues at dispute. There are well-known irritants. There are also well-known opportunities. Now, somehow the composite dialogue was able to reflect the priorities of the two countries, which is why it worked for such a long time, even though from time to time it was disrupted. But it did work because it did reflect the concerns of both countries.
Okay.
Now, I will put two propositions to you. First of all, I think any effort by India to try to engage Pakistan on only the two T's, terror and trade, will not sustain the normalization process. I do not mean to diminish the significance of these two issues, but they have to be addressed within a broader context of a wide-ranging
can I
peace
interrupt?
process.
I don't think there is anyone in
Yes.
India saying that Pakistan will only be addressed on the two T's. When we talk about a new architecture, they're talking about the composite dialogue happening in a different way, but not the composite dialogue being
Karan, that's
replaced
not-
with just the two
that's
T's.
That's not the impression your foreign secretary gave during her briefing.
Well, I don't think the foreign
we
secretary
listened to
said
that very
very much at her
carefully.
briefing to give any impression. That's a problem I'll come
But
to in a moment's
what-
time.
no,
let me
no,
let me
what-
let me
no,
bring in
no.
one of the
I
guests and
think
I'll come
what
back to you. There's a certain difference of opinion between, say, someone like Siddharth Varadarajan, who recognized and accepted that the Pakistani willingness to move away from the composite structure to a new architecture was a significant, if small, step forward. And Maliha Lodhi saying that this is all just talk about process. It's talk about talks and not actually addressing the issues. And worse still, she's worried that this new architecture might only focus on what she calls the two T's and leave out issues of concern to Pakistan. Are those genuine, real fears, or do you side with Siddharth Varadarajan, who says this is actually a small but significant step forward?
I think, Karan, part of the problem is, when Indian and Pakistani leaders meet, neither side fully briefs the public. Now, the fact Maliha is so worried about Kashmir negotiation, the fact is we have negotiated on Kashmir. What we haven't done is, do the new government in Pakistan and India agree with what was negotiated just a few years ago? So, and then if you see the last 5 years, for all the talk about it being a wasted period, there were negotiations on trade normalization, there were negotiations on visa liberalization, there were talks on export of petroleum goods, there was talk about electricity supply. You had a whole gamut of issues negotiated in the last few years. The question is, have the two principals understood, look, there is political will to do some things. So if terror and Kashmir are elevated to a higher level, there are a whole range of other things which can be picked up pretty quickly if there is political will.
I'm going to come back to you again, because what Maliha is suggesting is that if all you're doing is talking about the process but not actually addressing the issues, then in fact you're not making progress. But the problem is that since January last year, the two countries haven't been able to talk. And one of the critical reasons they haven't been able to talk is because they suddenly developed differences over the process. And therefore, talks can only happen if they can agree on a new process. And I then put it to you, any step by Pakistan to help India agree to a new process is a step forward, even if it looks like shuffling of feet on the dance floor. Nonetheless, it's more productive than what's been the situation up till now.
Quite right. I think Maliha's fears are not unfounded. There are people on this side who would like to limit the dialogue to trade and terror. But clearly that's not tenable, and I think most analysts recognize that this is not possible. But she's overly pessimistic when she dismisses today's meeting as having produced nothing. Let's not forget that the last time the two prime ministers met, which was in September, Manmohan Singh and Nawaz Sharif, the best they could produce was that the two DGMOs will have a meeting to decide about a ceasefire. Despite that clear direction, the DGMOs didn't have their meeting until a couple of months later. So the fact is that now, at least the issue of dialogue has been posed, the foreign secretaries have been tasked, and something will come out of this. I'm fairly confident.
I want to come back to Aziz Ahmed Khan on that question I asked, which you in a sense sidestep. If Kashmir and terror are raised to a higher level than the foreign secretaries, I'm guessing now, suppose it goes to the level of special representatives, a bit like India's dialogue with China, would that be, in your eyes as a former High Commissioner, a step forward? Or would you side with Maliha's view that this is all process, it's not substance, and therefore the key issues are still being avoided?
No, if the level is raised, higher than the foreign secretaries, if the special representatives that are chosen are people who are higher in rank than the foreign secretaries, then one can look at what is the substance that they are going to discuss, how frequently are they going to meet, how rapidly they are going to move forward on that process, because it all is a question whether this process can be sustained in a constructive manner. For example, about discussions on Kashmir, I don't want to belittle the progress that we have made.
Can I pause you for a moment?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly,
Yeah.
there will be then questions asked about how often the special representatives meet and precisely what they discuss. But will the very fact that the process has risen to the special representative level be seen as a step forward in Pakistan? Or would most Pakistanis side with Maliha's view, this is just process, not progress? Give me a specific answer to
No,
that.
certainly, I will give you a specific answer. If the dialogue process starts quickly and these subjects are discussed in real earnest, it would certainly be welcomed in Pakistan. It will be
Okay.
progress. But if it's only just atmospherics and protocol, then it will be a different thing.
I want to
May I
come to
come in on
another
this?
aspect of what emerged today, and I'm going to put that to you, Mr. Parthasarathi. It's the manner in which our Foreign Secretary cryptically handled the question, what response did you get from Mr. Nawaz Sharif when India raised the issue of terror? Her first answer was to say that she refused to reveal anything, that she was not the spokesman of the Pakistani government. The Pakistanis must say for themselves what they want to say. And then separately, in answer to some prodding when the questions began, she said the conversation had been constructive. Her exact words, Pakistan tried to address our concerns on terror. What do you make of that incredible reticence from our Foreign Secretary on a key issue of terror?
Look, I don't think she wanted to spoil the atmospherics of the visit. This is very important. Atmospherics matter in diplomacy, especially when heads of government meet. My understanding of what could have transpired involved three crucial facets of terrorism as far as we're concerned. Dawood, Hafiz Muhammad Saeed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Herat. Now, the fact of the matter is, even if you are specific, on an issue like this which is sensitive, it is best not to go public. But these things are discussed in private. Secondly, I'd like to say this. I agree that with Maliha, that process alone is not important. I go back to a very fundamental thing. I recall Mr. Gujral telling me that Mr. Nawaz Sharif told him, हम जानते हैं कि हम आपसे कश्मीर ले नहीं सकते हैं और आप हमको कश्मीर दे नहीं सकते हैं. My point is, the twin assurances of 2004 and the progress made by the back channel between 2005 and 2007 should be respected by both sides.
Okay.
There is no other way out.
I'll
Otherwise,
come
as they say, the chickens can come home to roost.
Absolutely, but I want to focus for a while on terror and then I'll broaden and talk about the back channel in a moment later. And on this terror issue, what do you make of the reticence of the Foreign Secretary? Because for many in India watching that press conference, it was incredibly surprising. And the one thing that I noticed in particular is when she was asked to comment on President Karzai claiming that the attack on the Indian consulate in Herat was the work of ELET, she simply refused to answer. All she said was, to the correspondent who did the interview, you did the interview, you know the answer, I've got nothing to say. And normally, I would have thought that an Indian Foreign Secretary would jump on this opportunity to prove that in fact the LET is interfering, that Pakistan is supporting the LET, this is proof in fact of insidious Pakistani intent. None of that happened. None of that happened.
May I just answer one?
Well, let him answer, then I'll
Sorry
come
to
to you.
interrupt. You do not embarrass a guest on your soil with what sensitive issues you discuss in private.
In other words, she was being diplomatic.
Yes.
Let me, now is your
Fair
answer.
enough, the ambassador is absolutely right. But having said that, there's no reason for you to be defensive that you have a wider regional policy, right? So you're engaging Afghanistan, you're trying to combat radicalism there. We know it comes from across the border. At the same time, you're trying to engage a civilian regime in Pakistan, which also claims to be combating radicalism. So there is no contradiction in that, and why can't we maintain that dualism? And there's no need to get defensive.
In other words, she could have been more forthcoming.
Perhaps, yeah. But
Her
then
reticence is inexplicable.
one could also give her a benefit of the doubt that she is still trying to sort of appreciate what is going to be Modi's overall worldview vis-a-vis the region. So perhaps a bit of that could be also in play.
No, I think there's no point, laboring this. I think because and working it backwards from our silence. I would say, look, they talked about terror. I'm sure. The question is, I'm sure Nawaz Sharif has given some assurances. Now, those can only be tested down the road. I mean, that you want to move forward, you want to resume the dialogue. India says, look, I need some control over terror. And Pakistan says, look, we got to have our issues discussed. So that's how the dialogue begins. And if there is no incident in the coming weeks, my sense is a lot of other reciprocal steps can be taken by both sides. Pakistan taking something on terror, India opening up the dialogue.
Maria Lodi, I want to put to you something that was half suggested a moment ago by Ambassador Parthasarathy, and I'm going to make it a fuller suggestion. Our Foreign Secretary deliberately sidestepped, in fact, refused to answer that question when she was asked about Mr. Karzai claiming that the attack on the Indian consulate was the work of the LET. She deliberately refused to do it because she didn't want to spoil the atmosphere. She didn't want to spoil what could be otherwise the beginning that might lead to a better round of talks later on. Does that to you in Pakistan look like a significant moment of reticence?
No, I don't think so. But I do think that anybody who relies on what President Karzai says should really check with the White House. They'll tell you how much to rely on Mr. Karzai's word. But having said that, Karan, I do want to make 2 quick points. One, I did not mean, as Siddharth, my friend, suggested, to dismiss the meeting. What I was saying was that this meeting could have produced a real outcome if it had announced at least a roadmap for meetings down the road, literally. Second point I want to make, Karan, is a very fundamental one from the Pakistani perspective. And that is that if India, under the new management, still does what it has been doing in recent years, which is look at a broad-based peace process as some kind of a reward or a concession to Pakistan. In other words, unless you do what we ask you to do, we will not revive and we will not resume the broad-based process under whatever name. Then I'm afraid normalization is not going to be sustained. For normalization to be sustained, both countries will have to address each other's concerns. It cannot be a unilaterally determined agenda, much less unilaterally determined cherry picking of the dialogue.
Is there a sense, as Malia is suggesting, that the Indians, and I'm using this word, she didn't, are blackmailing Pakistan by saying that unless and until you address our agenda, which is terror, there will be no talks on the issues you want, which is Kashmir? Because the Indians often say the opposite is the case. The Pakistanis say to us, unless you address Kashmir, terror won't stop. Yeah. So is there a sense in which Malia is right? Is there a sense in which the Indians are right? Or are they both, in a sense, misunderstanding each other and the need to accommodate?
I think both sides are talking at cross purposes, quite frankly, because from the Indian side, if you look at what the back channel between Manmohan Singh and Musharraf produced on Kashmir, that's the furthest that India has travelled so far in terms of formulating the framework for a solution. So clearly that's evidence of India's willingness to discuss Kashmir. What's needed is for the Pakistani side to, in a sense, reinvent the wheel. I understand when a PPP government or a PML government is reluctant to pick up a ready-made framework that General Musharraf leaves for them. But the process of reinventing that formulation, I think, has to begin in earnest. And I understand the exploration of a new framework by the 2 foreign secretaries, particularly if it involves special envoys or a back channel, as one way in which those threads on Kashmir can be picked up.